Okay, well, it's my great pleasure to introduce to you a lovely man that I've known for many, many, many years, and he's here with his lovely wife, Bron. So those who don't know, Tino was the president and vice president for a long time of UFO Research Queensland, which I'm involved with too. So, and he was on the during that whole when he was being involved with the group, which was
79.
79, you became a member or something, or came along to the meetings?
Yeah.
My goodness. And he only left last year.
That's
was
right.
It? Yes,
yep.
Goodness me. But while he was involved with our group, he was on our committee, he was attending the weekly Paranormal Panel radio show on Radio 4BC, which was a huge commitment, driving there every week, going to that group. And he was on that with a skeptic, Bob Bruce.
Bob Bruce.
Yeah. He was the president of the New Australian
Queensland
Skeptics Association, and he was also with another panelist was Kev Batten, who was a psychic.
And Chris Ralph was also.
He was one of our team too. So Tino was looking after the UFO side of things as well. So. But obviously he's had his own experiences, and he heard a lot of other people's experiences over that 17 years, wasn't
it? Yeah,
17 years on that radio show. Wow. So you've got a lot of experiences and knowledge to share with you. So without any further ado, would you please welcome Tino?
Thank you, Cheryl, and thank you all for coming. How many of you have heard my little bits of stories every once in a while while we're at the UFO meetings? Okay, great. It's really strange for me because this is the first time ever that I've spoken about just myself, my own experiences at a meeting. There's always been snippets of it because it would have had to do with whatever we were talking about on a particular night at the UFO meeting on the Paranormal Panel show, and things would have been similar with me, so I'd mentioned what happened to me, little bits of it, but I've never really spoken about my own experiences from when I was a child till today. And I found it a little bit challenging, to be honest with you, because it's great to hear everybody else's stories, and then all of a sudden I'm under the spotlight, and this is a subject that sort of divides people. Anything paranormal does, I think we all know that, but so I want to stress that these are experiences that I've had and how I interpreted them through my eyes, and a lot of those beliefs that I had have changed through as I got older and I had a different perspective of life. My views on certain paranormal things changed. So I'm not ashamed to say that I've changed my mind on a lot of things, and I've learned things, and I've learned things from other people, and I've kept and the march progresses. You know, it continues on, and I suppose being brought up in a strict Catholic sort of family, and having these experiences, I started challenging things. Right, the authorities, the establishment, and I always professed to be a researcher. We were just talking about something else completely, and I said, well, I've always said I was a researcher, not just a follower or a believer. So I will challenge things if I feel that there's been an injustice or something's been said wrong or something, and I make enemies, not enemies, but people sort of, you know, look at me and say, oh yeah, you're a bit of a, you know, but no, I'll stick to that because. Otherwise, I'm not really a researcher, am I? No. Whoever comes along in the evening, I follow what they say. And next time, if someone of a completely different view, I'll just follow what they say to be nice. I'll always be nice, but I will challenge things if I feel that people are being misled or something is not right. So, and with that, because of how I was brought up, that I was taught by nuns at a Catholic church. They were good. Never had a problem. I'll say that. But their doctrine and their belief system. Well, and I used to challenge it all the time, you know, and it helped me in later life, but I wasn't aware of it at the time. So it was really funny. I'll tell you a quick story with the nuns because they were wonderful people, Irish nuns they were. And so I'm at school, and I was born 12 months after my mother married my father here, and she came out from Italy, and I was in grade 1 at a little church in Wooloowin, school at Wooloowin, and on the first few days, the nun called my mother up to the school. There was a problem. So my mother rocks up, and the nun sees her and said, oh, are you Mrs. Pezzimenti? Yes. So we have a problem with young Fortunato. My proper name is Fortunato. or they used to say Master Fortunato, whatever it was. Oh, my mother goes, what's wrong? She goes, he can't speak English. My mother looked at her and said in her accent, Ma, who are you? Oh, I'm his teacher.
Teach English.
You teach. She didn't know what the problem was. The only reason I was there was to learn. So that was how she walked away and left the nun standing there looking at her. And that's how it started. You know? So from day one, there was challenge. You know? So I'll never forget that story. My mother just says, "I tell her, what's wrong with you? You're the teacher. You teach." Okay, fair enough. But so I've given you a clue. I lived in Wooloowin at the time. Luckily, at some stage of my life here, I went around and took photographs of that's the house we used to live in Wooloowin. Little house in the corner, Lisson Grove. It was a little bit different. It had the open veranda now, and we had it all closed off. But it was a humble little home. There was no one next door. It's a vacant block now, or when it was at the time, next door there. But so my experience started there, and I was about. So you say probably about 6 or 7 years old, something like that, you know, starting off a little kid. And, strange things used to happen, but again, as a child, you don't know they're strange. You just think they're normal. And, like things like we'd all wake up, my mother would suffer nightmares in here. I mean, terrible, terrible nightmares. Always of snakes and things like that, terrible things, you know. And then she'd always say that her sister, who passed away when she was young, would appear to her and say everything's going to be okay, and there'd be no more snakes, and she would rest. You know? That's my mother's story. I thought, oh, it's a story. But I lived there with my brother. He was 2 years younger than me, and my mum and dad. And these strange things, I would say to you, would occur sometimes around 8:30 at night. It seemed to be a common thing. Looking back now, it was around that time. I didn't take notes at the time, obviously. But talking to my mum and dad now, they're saying things about 8:30 at night. Things would happen, sometimes later. One of the things that used to happen, we were asleep, at this time it happened at midnight. There's a huge loud bang on the tin roof. And as you can see, there was no house next door, and there was the house up here was way back there, was a long way away. Here's the guy at the back who started the Nanda spaghetti place over at Nanda there, made pasta, and that's their claim to fame. We lived next door to the guy who made me what I am today, you know. So it's his problem, his fault. Anyway, so we heard this huge bang on the roof, right? And everyone woke up, all the neighbours looked up. My father looking around and said, something's wrong here. Got the ladder, he climbed up on the roof, and on the roof he found a rock, which is about that big, but not even a dent on the roof. Right, and he rolled it, and he threw. He's in his swearing. How the hell did that get up there, and all that sort of thing. He could never figure it out. Never have. The neighbours are looking at the bloody Pezzimenti families again. So the lights go off and we go to sleep. And every other once in a while, he would be awoken in the middle of the night by cats meowing downstairs, like cats. And this was all open area at one stage. All this was all open under here, and he'd come downstairs. He'd have to come down this little laneway, open the garage. At the time there wasn't a garage door. Go downstairs and have a look around for these cats. He could never find them. Eventually, he got sick and tired of animals crawling under the house and making a ruckus. That he decided to Besser block all the bottom of the house and put a garage door in so that you couldn't get in there. And in these little holes in there, he put netting, so pigeons and that couldn't get in there. And okay. Same thing continued after a while. He could still hear these cats. And he remembers telling me that, because he's told me this afterwards, okay? So and I remember parts of it, and then once he's told me the story, I put two and two together, and with my brother we've come up, so that's what's happened. So he would come running down here one day, open up the door, go in there, and he couldn't hear the cats. He heard the cats are outside here. So he comes running out the door, comes around here, and he hears the cats that are inside. So he goes back in there. He did this for a while, and he was getting really frustrated, That's another one of those mysteries, couldn't figure out what was going on. That's a picture from the side. Yeah, it's a little bit better from the side. Anyway, okay, so so we had that thing. We had some pets growing up. My dad decided to bring home a turtle. It was a very exotic. He'd found it. It was injured, so he brought it home, and we had like one of that large box. We put it in the box, and we thought in the morning we will, take it somewhere, see what has to be done. So in the morning we'll wake up excited, and it disappeared. The box was still upright. There was nothing in the box. So we could feel, my mother starts panicking. Oh, it's going to crawl under the fridge and die there, and it's going to smell, as you would do, and we're running around, what happened to the turtle? We don't know. Anyway, so that's another little mystery we could add to it. And all this will probably make sense, is probably not the right term, but you'll understand why this is how I was seeing it. I was seeing these little things happening at a time. There's no story behind it, it's just incidents that I couldn't figure out, okay? So then we had a bird. It was a canary, and I even remember the name was Susie. And we had this canary, and every once in a while, not all the time, it would want to just go crazy in its cage and try to fly out of its cage. And again, it seems to be always around at 8:30 at night, And it did it again and again. And one morning we found it was dead in the cage. It was tried, so feathers everywhere. Because I remember telling my mother, let's not get any more canaries. Let's get a budgerigar or something, because the canary's a bit crazy. But and sure enough, after a while, the budgie started trying to do the same thing. So, but it lasted quite a long time with us. But it did go crazy, as I was thinking at the time, trying to fly out of its cage. Toys would go missing, like the soccer ball or a cricket bat we'd put outside the door inside to play the next day, wake up and it's gone. And I would blame my brother would blame me, and I would blame my brother, and it'll go back and forwards, of course. 3 days later, it appears exactly where it was before. Now, why did you put it back? Where did you have it? And always fighting over things like that. Okay. Now, all this was all, passable events, until one particular night. On this particular night, you remember, some of you may remember, you're all very young looking here, so you used to have soft drinks delivered to your house in Horrocks or Osborne's. There's the two that come to mind, and used to bring you a carton of whatever soft drink they had. And we used to keep it downstairs under there somewhere. And my mother asked my brother that day, said, go downstairs and just get a bottle of lemonade, something like that. And he took a while. He took a while to come back up. So we're wondering, and she goes, I wonder what's happened to Bruno. That was his name. And anyway, just as she said that, he'd come back up to the main entrance we used to use is through that door around to the back. And he was literally crawling on all fours, shaking. So we picked him up, brought him inside. My mother said that she put him in bed, and he was cold and clammy, So she ended up calling a doctor, which were home. The time goes around in a circle. Now we've got home service doctors. Well, back then it was the norm, and they used to have the little bags, and it was very typical of what you'd see. But anyway, that's who turned up. A doctor came that night and had a look at him, checked him out, and sure enough, he said, "Oh, he's suffering. Seems to be suffering from shock. So I would recommend you let him rest and do this, and keep an eye on him, his temperature." Okay, couldn't figure it out. After about an hour or so, 2 hours, he calmed down, and being only 4 or 5 or even 6 at the time, sometimes it's hard to explain things. But what he said was, and we had those timber columns, as most Queenslanders do, downstairs, and he said he went to get to the soft drink and he saw it, and he went there, he felt like someone was looking at him, and when he turned around, out of the column, a face protruded out. And this hit him years later when Berger Paints had that ad where the faces would come out of the wall and talk to you about it. Right? And we've both become painters too, by the way, since then. That's what we do for a real job. Anyway, so when he saw that ad years and years ago, it all really confirmed what he'd said. So he was there and he saw this face protruding out of the skull, and he panicked. So he walked away, and the face just moved around the column. This is in his words, okay? And he just tried to run and whatever happened, and he grew. I mean, it's pretty gruesome if you think about it. And I don't know why he would have lied. He was in shock. The doctor was there and confirmed this. So something spooked him and something happened. Right. So we're going to take him at his word. To this day, he'll tell you that that's exactly what happened. All right. He will never change his story ever. And I'll tell you that he's probably the bravest out of the two of us. He would be the one who would be more likely to go down in the dark than me. So for him to say that, it's a big thing, you know. So one day after that, this has now gotten the attention of my parents, and you go to school. Okay, it's bad enough being an ethnic kid in the school at lunchtime, when you open up your port and your mum has prepared your lunch, which consists of a baguette whole, a knife to cut it open, and plenty of salami, ham, cheese and olives to fill it, cut it and eat. If that's not bad enough, one of the kids, and I remember Brian, I think his name, little blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid, what did you do on the weekend? I said to him, what did you do? Oh, we went and had a picnic. And he said, what about you? I said, we couldn't do much because my mum and dad had the priest over to bless the house. You know, thinking that that's what everybody does. He already thinks I'm a bit crazy and weird by what I bring home to lunch. Now he's going to put, what? I said, yeah, we brought the priest to bless the house. All right then, you know, fine, whatever you say. And I'm thinking, that's weird. Why are you acting like that? Doesn't everybody? No. Oh, okay. So my parents have been off trying to figure out a way, in whatever way they knew, to stop this happening. The dreams, all those things. Me, I just see a bloke showing up with throwing water. If I threw water around the house, I would get in so much trouble. She gets this guy to come in that we don't know, splashes the entire house, and not only does he just splash water, he's got this thing that makes this really smelly smoke that I thought was to kill all the mosquitoes. I thought we had a mosquito infection. But anyway, infestation. But anyway, so that's what happened. So they got to the point that for them to do that, then their attention was tweaked. Okay. So next door, we're talking about the vacant block of land. Next door to that is the house, and I'll use the old-fashioned term, with the little old ladies. That's what we used to call them. There's the three. Miss Peggy, I forget the other two's name. And they were funny because they were always the ones you see the house. They got the old timber Venetian blinds, and whenever you come home from school, there'd be 3 slots open. The 3 of them looking at us, you know. And we'd go past and with the other kids at the school, "Hello, Mrs. Megan," you know. That's what I remember from it. Anyway, so and they had the vacant block of land, and one day there was a younger couple on that block of land talking to the ladies. And my father was doing some work and he said hello, and the guy came over. He goes, "Oh, hello, how are you?" He goes, "Oh, we used to live next door." "Oh, really? What happened?" He goes, "Oh, the house burned down when we were away. And no one got hurt or anything like that. And it's just been like this. I was just talking to my old neighbours." "Oh," I said, my father said, that's good, you know. And then as the guy turned away, he goes, "It's a bit of a pity what happened in your house." Yeah. My father goes, what do you mean?" He goes, oh, sorry, don't you know?" He goes, "No." He goes, "Oh, unfortunately, some years ago, is that 2 little girls were playing hide and seek, and in the back here, they used to have one of those old-fashioned refrigerators with the handles that turned, and it was just open. It wasn't used. It was just left there, an old fridge. And the 2 poor little girls locked themselves up in that fridge, closed the door, and they suffocated because it wasn't like the safety ones now that you had to literally on the outside click the release handle. There weren't cats meowing. There were little girls crying. You see, and my father, upon hearing it, I still get really, upon hearing this, put the house for sale. That's it now. He said, "That's enough." So the time that he was going on, and it was exactly that position back here where he kept going, he thought it was on the outside or the inside of the outside. He heard the crying of the cats in that corner, but he couldn't see anything, you know. And so we sold the house. In 1985, I changed jobs from painting, and I thought I've had enough of this. I'll try real estate for a little bit, and I went into real estate. and I had access to what they call the Valuer General's report, where you can look up the history of a house. Back then the computer, it wasn't like today, so you had to do a special thing. And that house sold 8 times in 16 years.
Oh.
All right. Now, again, coincidence, and I'm going to go into coincidences and synchronicity a little bit later, because I feel that once you're open to all this sort of stuff, it's amazing what can come in and you note it, right? Not just dismiss things. So there was a phone booth down the road. I don't think there's... Actually, what I will do, hang on. This is Bruno, my brother, and myself. We were walking to school one day, and I just thought I'd show you this photo because it's hideous. And this guy came out of the bushes literally with a camera and said, "Do you mind if I take your photo and then you can buy it later?" You know, and if you do that today, of course, you know, but it was legitimate. He was like amateur photographer trying to make a bit of money. So he took some photos of us, and then later in the afternoon came home and says, "I've got the photos of your children if you want to buy." And we did. Well, at least we think so. But anyway, that's what happened. That's how we got that photo. I'll go back to that. I'll leave it there for a little while. Well, actually, I'll leave it back on the house. That's better. So anyway, I did the Valuer General's report 8 times, and down the road, down further, when we sold it to a young couple who's the boyfriend and girlfriend. The boyfriend was at the inaugural army barracks as an army reservist. Okay, so she was alone most of the time. And this is about a few months after we sold it. There's a phone booth just down around the corner, and no mobile phones around then like there are today, of course. And we knew the lady that lived just next to the phone booth, so she sits on a balcony and listens to all the conversations of everyone. And now the coincidence is that this lady, my parents, since they moved a few times, and then they lived at Stafford Heights, and this lady moved into the house next door to my parents at Stafford Heights. And "Oh, it's you, yeah, we used to live there." One day I was there, this is only a few years back. She said, "Oh, it's so funny. I remember when we lived down there, and you remember when you sold that house?" "Yeah." "Well," she goes, "that I remember clearly, only a few months after, the young lady came running down to the phone booth dressed in her pyjamas, and she rang her boyfriend and she goes, 'You get me out of this home now. I'm going to go live with my sisters. I'm never going back in that house again.'" And she goes, "I didn't know what it was all about." And then about 6 months later, the house was for sale again, which matches what I'd found. So who knows what happened there. So anyway, so that's what's happened in that the period of time when I was going to primary school. Okay, so after that we moved to Albion, and we built a house there. That was a relatively quiet time in my life as regards to paranormal activity. However, that is the time that I had gained an interest in UFOs, and in that period of time I was driving with a friend of mine. Was driving, just got his license, at Bartley's Lookout at Ascot, and we were there recently. I showed you a lookout over the city and the race course down the bottom. It's a lovely high position. And as we were driving over the hill, there's 4 of us in the car: my brother, myself, Lucio the driver, and Gino, the other passenger. We saw a light coming towards us, huge light, got bigger and bigger and bigger. Now at this point, everyone agrees that we were over there, we saw this light coming towards us. Where we differ, 2 verse 2, is that I and my other mate believed that it came so close, it did a 90-degree turn, it went over the horizon so fast that you couldn't follow it. The other 2 believed that it came close and then blinked out. Right, so I can't understand, but I mean, it happened so fast that I could understand probably why people would see it that way, you know. And very close to Brisbane Airport. So, and that's when I became. Sorry, this is sticking. That's when I became an investigator. It's because I rang. Well, the others just talked about it and said, "Oh, let's forget about it." I decided to ring the airport in the morning, and that's when I discovered that there was a curfew back then between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., something like that, close to that. And this happened around midnight or so. And I remember talking to the person, and they're saying something. They said, "Oh, I'll put you on to someone else." And only now do I realise that someone else had to do with Amberley Air Force. And they were very, very keen in my story. right? It wouldn't give too much away, but they were interested. They kept asking me the same question over and over again, almost as if they'd heard of someone else and they were glad that I rang and confirmed it. But that's about it. That's all that happened. Light, little light, nothing exciting, but that changed my life really. Probably this was the training for me to see things that other people wouldn't, you know. But then, and that's probably around 1979. Yeah, it'd be about right. I went to my first meeting, which was at the Women's Club somewhere in Queen Street in the city.
Elizabeth Street. Yeah.
Elizabeth Street, was it? That's right. It was. There was a Spanish restaurant or something at the back of one of the, and I remember and you could park right outside the building.
Yes, you could.
In the city when you had to go to a meeting.
Right.
You just pulled up and shut the door, and there were no signs that said you can't park, and in fact no one went into the city at night. So those are my memories of this, you know. And I thought, my brother was with me, and I thought, I bet there's going to be a lot of crazy people there, you know, and they're going to have propellers on their heads, and they're going to. And we went there, and we were quite pleasantly surprised at the people that were, at the quality of people that were there. They all were almost normal, you know? and yeah, I always say almost because really, when you were from my family, no one was normal. But anyway, so I was pleasantly surprised, and virtually, and I have a little joke that goes, you got to be careful when you go to this place. If you help them stack chairs, can you help us stack these chairs? And after that, a few years later, I became the chairman. There's something in that. There's something in that. Be careful. So anyway, so my life started as a UFO researcher with the organisation. Now, so in doing this, then researching everything, because then everything became a mystery to me. If ghosts, I use that term ghosts. A lot of people don't like to, but that's how I remember it. If ghosts can exist, what else can exist? What else is real? What else is not real? What you know? So my mates are going off with their girlfriends to the movies, and I'm going to UFO meetings. You know, how exciting was my life back then. But anyway, so I took this little different course, and of course, I was talking to people about different things. I was never scared to ask them and give my opinion. And I thought, okay, there's lots of things that we don't understand. I no longer just believe in coincidences. I believe there's a synchronicity involved, and I believe they're just more than just random things that happen. Because now I will get to the other stage of my life, and this forced me to look at life's coincidences and where you get and where you come from, and the course, how it's laid out for you. Sometimes it looks like it's laid out for you. Now, again, we go right back to when I was a child with Bruno, my brother. We were 1969. It was when the man first landed on the moon. My father got transferred over to Mackay to do a big job, so he decided to get us to go up there as well and live there for a few weeks, 4 or 5 weeks. And I went to school there, you know. And Mackay back then was known for its sand hills, the sand dunes right near the shore. They were wonderful big sand hills. They looked massive. They'd probably go there now. They're probably just bumps of sand, but you know. And I had this great water pistol that someone gave me, and it was magnificent. It was made of metal, right? It had rubber right instead of plastic, and it could shoot. I could shoot one of those little trinkets off that from here. That was great. And I used to torment my brother with it all the time when he least expected it, right? Especially in the ear. He loved it. Anyway, and I would hide it. So we went off to these sand dunes, and my brother got used to all this. So he'd say, right, no, he wanted to search me first before we went anywhere, right? Because he didn't want to. There's a lot of girls that with the families that hang around there, so he didn't want to get embarrassed. So he'd search me. I was smarter back then than I am now. I stashed it in the car, knowing he was going to search me, right? So I stashed the water pistol in the car, and I got away with it. So, comes to the sand dunes. I wait for my break, grab my water pistol, and I start chasing him along these sand dunes. And he's upset, he's yelling, and I'm squirting. The girls are laughing, they think I'm great, you know, look at him. I trip over my brother trips over a clump of grass, lands headfirst into the sand dune, sort of thing. What can you get better than this? You know, my brother looks like an ostrich. You know, great. He comes out all upset, and we go, "What the hell is this?" He flicks. he finds a water pistol twice the size of mine in that place where he fell. I looked at it and I just go in horror, and he looked at me. We were horrified, you know, until it clicked. He looked at the ocean. I saw the empty water pistol. He's going to fill it, so I start running. He runs to the ocean, fills it up, and then the rest is history. You know, that was my first taste of a really unusual coincidence. Okay, it's funny now. He laughs at it all the time, but he was the one with the head in the sand. So we move into the future. I'm married on my honeymoon. We have a late honeymoon. Not the bride, so this is a previous marriage. We decide to go something different. We decided to go to a place, I don't know, midweek, like Coffs Harbour or something, for a weekend. Because I was always busy at work, so I couldn't go very far. So I said, we'll go there. All right. Oh, that's right. It was because the lady that she worked with had a unit there. And she goes, I'm going to be staying there this week. I've got holidays. Why don't you come down for a few days? And we said, oh, okay, we'll come down. So we did. And we're in this place, and we go to the local pub for a meal, and they had like a little disco back then. You know, everyone had like a disco. And so where the three of us are sort of dancing out there, and my wife had to go to the bathroom. So she goes, look, I've got to go. All right, you go, we'll continue dancing. Just when that happened, her best friend from Brisbane was driving to Sydney or something. She decided to stop in there to this little pub somewhere near Coffs Harbour just to have a meal, and decided to stick her head in to this little nightclub to see what was going on. Her best friend. She sees me dancing with this woman. Dancing. She comes up, Esther. And she looks at me, and the girl's there. Hello, Tino. How are you? I said, I'm and then it clicked. I knew so I was going to play along. I said, oh, I'm pretty good, thanks. And you? Good. And how's your lovely wife? I said, good. And where is she? She's in the toilet. Here she comes now, right? And she came out, and it was all funny after that, you know. But I'm thinking, what are the chances of doing something completely random, right, like that, in a place you've never been before, in the middle of somewhere up the coast, on a midweek, and that to happen? I thought, wow, that's a coincidence? Oh, I said, no, that's teaching me a lesson. That's teaching me, Tino, you be careful the rest of your life, because I'm watching. And man, if you play up, everyone's going to know about it, right? So I learnt that lesson very early on, and I said, fair enough, okay. Now, so then about 6 months after that, we decided to go for our proper honeymoon. We went for a trip to Italy. And we went to a little town called Pescara on the east coast, and we're walking across the road, and I could hear this person behind me going, woo, woo, something like that, right? And I turned around, and it was Mr. Morabito. The car incident with the light, the driver, Lucio, that's his father. They were visiting Italy for a period of about 5 or 6 weeks, right? We're talking about a place that's got a population of about 68 million people, all right? And we just walk across the road, this little town. Sure enough, he's behind me, recognised it. I didn't think, I knew it was you. I had a Qantas bag. Because once I saw the Qantas bag, I knew it must have been you. You know, like, oh, how are you? I said, great. I said, what are you doing here? I'm on holiday. Because he said, my mother lives in the hills just next few towns. So I said, oh, okay. And yeah, wonderful coincidence again. It's on their own, they could be just a coincidence, but when they start piling up, you start thinking, what's going on here? What's going on? Now, I know this seems terrible, but I'll move on, because then I ended up, we had married for about 20 something years, and we divorced, and I had a new partner at the time, and 25 long years it was, yeah. And then a new partner, so I decided to, why don't we go to Suncorp Stadium, and we're going to watch a game up there. There was a game on, a soccer game, Australia played somebody. It was packed, so we were very late to get our tickets. There was 52,000 people. We got our tickets right at the, towards the end, so we were sitting right up the top. And she's never been to a game like this, and I said, oh yeah, it's a long way up, but we'll walk up there. We sit down, and I could hear some voices behind me, and they looked familiar, sounded familiar. I turned around, 3 rows behind me was my ex-wife, who just purchased the tickets about 3 days before I did, or after I did, and ended up sitting like 2 or 3 seats behind me with her boyfriend. So I thought, this is awkward, very awkward. So anyway, we played the awkward game the whole night. All right, try not to cheer too much because you pay attention to that. Anyway, we decided to leave a little bit early, and it was starting to rain, and we decided, look, let's go and have a coffee over at Park Road, Milton. You know, we'll just walk over there, have a coffee, and forget about the whole night. Let's just forget about the whole night. So we're walking over there, and it's starting to rain, a few puddles of water, and other people are starting to leave early as well, you know. And as I'm walking across the street, the couple was coming. The woman jumps over the puddle and she nearly fell. So I grabbed her, helped her. That was my ex-wife. Okay. Hi. Where are you going? Have a coffee. Where are you going? Oh, I was just going home. my girlfriend at the time looked at me and goes, is this going to be my life for the rest of my life? Really? You just caught your wife, your ex-wife. I said, I know, but she just sort of fell in my arms. I didn't know it was her, you know. And I thought, wow, you know, how weird is that? And if it stopped there, I'd be happy. But no. Absolutely not. Oh, no. Then came the Melbourne incident. I got upset with her once, my ex, because I'm sorry I have to talk about exes and things like that, but that's what happened, you know. I found that she was looking into my emails. She had my email account. She'd hacked into it. So I got upset with her for that. There's nothing really to hide, but I didn't like the fact that, you know, someone there was doing that. So anyway, I'm driving up Sanford Road, and remember that road too, because that comes up again. Sanford Road, going to work or something, and she rang us. We've got 2 boys, and so we were civil. Don't think it was a bad thing. We were civil, but you know, things were as they were. So we had to discuss the children for many reasons, schooling or something would happen. They always come up. So she rang me about it and talk about the kids. Yeah, okay, well, I'll make sure he does that, and tomorrow I'll bring him over there. There's no problem. And she couldn't help it. She goes, oh, and what I'd done, I had booked a weekend away to Melbourne, right? And for me, it was a big thing because I've been really old school, so doing something like that was really naughty. So I didn't tell anyone, not even my children, that I was going. They weren't living with me, they were living around a different place. So I thought, okay, I'm just keeping this to myself, it's a weekend. Okay. Right, and my wife says to me, oh, and have a good time in Melbourne. And of course, I thought, she's done it again. She's hacked into my emails, because the only people that know is me, my girlfriend, and the travel agent. The only people that knew. And I went off my head. And then she kept saying, no, wait. And I said, no, listen. I said, I'm sick and tired. You should have done. I didn't. I said, well, how would you know? He said, if you shut up for a minute, I'll tell you. All right. She goes, my boyfriend booked me in the hotel to go with him in Melbourne, and I only rang up to confirm. And when I said my name, Pezzimenti, he goes, oh, Tino and Regina. And that gave it away. I said, are you? And I swore. It wasn't the same weekend, it was like a few weekends apart, but she rang the bloke and my name was there, it came up, oh yeah, they're booked in here. That's when she knew I was going to Melbourne. I mean, come on! Really? You see what I mean by that warning I got? Hey, all my life, like that. Can't, you know. Hasn't finished yet. Many other things like that, right? But anyway, I probably won't mention a couple of them here. But yeah, I mentioned Sanford Road. Just a quick thing on that. I don't like snakes. All right, let you know now. I have this fear of picking up a snake and hitting a stick with it. You know, getting it all mixed up. I'm out camping, so be careful. I decided to do this quote. This house has had this long driveway, and I thought, if I drive up there, who knows how narrow it is, I can't get my truck back out, so I'll park at the bottom and walk up. I had to go give them a quote. And all the time I'm walking, at least they've got a concrete driveway, So if there's any snakes, I can see them rather than walking in the bush. And I walk around looking for snake. Next thing, something fell on my head. A bloody snake fell on my head. I mean, how does that happen? Does the snake look down and goes, there he is? I'll just let myself go onto him and hope landed on my head and jumped back off and then just went away. I just walked backwards to the car. I forgot about the car. You keep your job. That was just exactly where it happened on the same street. One more coincidence. This is not a bad thing or anything. Her son, and he'll come up again later. Her son Shannon had a little girl from he was living in New Zealand for a while, and he'd had separated from his girlfriend or wife, and it was a very bad split. And he was allowed to have her in here in Australia, but I had to negotiate with the ex-wife and to beg her to, and she put a condition on there in writing through the solicitors that he had to have it back by, say, Monday at 5 p.m, and if not, he will be in breach of all these court orders, and it was really messy, okay? So we said, look, there's no problem, we can do that, no problems at all. I even helped fund it to try to get these two, the father and daughter, together. Anyway, so she came out, everything was great. I was at a job, comes time now, a few weeks passed, or months, and it was time for her to go back very soon. And I was doing a job here at Kenmore Hills he's a politician. I was painting his house, and he had a lady friend there who looked after all his, like a secretary, Susie. And I was there this particular day, and I got the phone call from home saying that I have a special app on my phone that tells me that the flight had been cancelled. Right, that flight that she was on, which meant the next flight was the next day, which means he would be in breach. And the girlfriend in New Zealand was waiting for him to breach something because she wanted sole custody, and that would do it, So she was waiting for something to happen, and here it is. It presents itself, right? He would lose custody of the child if he wasn't back by blah blah blah. So I got this phone call, and I go, oh no. I said, right, we've got to go. I've got to go early. I said, sorry, Susie, I have to go. I've got to go take care of something at home. So we'll come back tomorrow or whatever. Okay, no worries. So I got home, and of course it's mayhem at home. Everyone's crying, upset, this and that. And I said, look, let's just go to the airport, because officially we haven't been told. I found it through an app that the flight's been cancelled. I said, let's just go to the airport, and we don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, but it's a waste of time. I said, well, let's just do it. I'll waste my time. Well, let's just go there and do it. So off we went into the airport, and sure enough, the people upset everywhere doing this. I said, what are we going to do? Next thing I hear someone behind me, what are you doing here? And I turned around, and it was Susie. She worked at the airport. She was the ground manager that night. Right? So as soon as I left there to go, she got ready, got home, and went to work. And I explained, I said, oh, I didn't know you worked. Oh yeah, I do this. Sometimes I'm not here, I'm at the other domestic, but I'm at the international this week. I'm doing ground manager, sorting out. I said, you got your hands full? He goes, oh yeah, there's been a few flights that have been cancelled, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, what's going on with you? And I explained the situation. Oh, she goes, that's terrible. I said, give me the ticket, give me the passport, give me everything. I'll see what I can do, but I can't promise anything. Anyway, she went, and obviously, because she was travelling, so there was a child travelling alone. She managed to bend a few arms, and she got transferred onto a Qantas flight that same night, a few hours later, but she would get there in time. So, and I'm thinking, every once in a while, the coincidences work in your favour, because, I mean, think of the chances of that happening. I'm working with this person, I don't know where she works, I don't ask her, but I get there and there she is, and she fixed everything up, fixed everything for me. Alright, so I thought, that's great, that's great. So, that's the synchronicity, coincidence type of situation now. We go through that phase, okay? So when I was there, people often ask me, are you psychic, do you have this? I said, no, I don't, I really don't. I love to be, I love to have some kind of, apart from X-ray vision and flying, superpower where I can, do that. I mean, every male or boy wants to fly, or like Superman, see through things. As a child, not as an adult. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Yeah. So no, I said, look, I don't. But sometimes I think to myself, how did that happen? There was a time when my girlfriend at the time, she was a girlfriend, we weren't married. She said to me, I want to ask you something. And out of my mouth came words that I haven't even processed in my brain. The words were, do you want me to give your son a job? Right? Something that I would never do. I wouldn't employ family like that. It's just not on for me, right? And yet, those words just came out as if someone else had put a tape recorder in there, and she just looked at me and she goes, oh, no, you're freaking me out. Because we'd never spoken about it. I didn't know he wanted a job. Yeah, the words just came out, right? And I stood there, when I saw the look on her face, I was horrified. Two reasons. One, where did that come from? I wasn't in control of what the word... it's really hard to explain. And secondly, I got it right, And so we talked for weeks about, it must have been meant to be. Women see things differently to men. When something like that happens, it was meant to be, so therefore, okay. Anyway, so all right, okay. So I did employ him. And another time that happened was, I was just sitting there watching TV, and she, out of the blue, I suppose I've got to mention that she contracted cancer, so, going through a period of time where there's a lot of stress and tension and all that sort of thing that comes with it. She said, do you know what? I said, you want one of those Italian ice creams? And she looked at me and goes, are you kidding me? She goes, because she doesn't like ice cream. I said, I don't know, do you? And she goes, yes. How did you know? I said, I don't know. I really don't know. At 10:30 at night, the only place I could get one was at, I think it was Park Road at Milton, around there, I think. And I was so freaked out, but I said, what happens if I don't? You've spoken to me before. I used to look up in the sky and talk to whoever, because I don't know who it was that does these tricks with me. But I looked up and go, you really want me to go, don't you? Otherwise you wouldn't have done this. So 10:30 at night, off in my car and got out. But I don't know why. And it's just a period of time. And it leads me to believe that sometimes if there's tension or something happening in an environment, it can cause these side effects. This is how I call them, side effects. Because now I'm going to go into the more serious part of what's happened in my life, in that period of time when Regina had contracted cancer, and how she changed, her view on life changed, and afterwards, even after the cancer was successfully removed, all that, and the tension sort of there remained. And like I said, I very rarely talk about my own personal experiences like this. Very rare, not even to family. But for the sake of this, I can't keep things like that out without you understanding what's going on. Now, we lived in another house. This is at Trouts Road. I didn't have the photo of the outside of the house here at Stafford Heights. Now, 17 years on the Paranormal Panel. Okay, so I'm going to see people who say they've seen something's happening in their house with their child. So I'd sit down with them and tell me all about it, and they'd tell me stories about how their child is looking at someone here when there's no one there, talking and carrying on like a conversation. And we say children are children, aren't they? But no, children, you've got to observe your children when they're at that age and what they're doing. And it turns out that the mother, one day I was listening to the girl giggling. She was one of these babies who used to cry about everything, always crying. Then all of a sudden she stopped crying, looked over, started giggling. The mother went like this, looked, and saw a little boy there, dressed in an old-fashioned, with a big bow tie, and he just smiled at her, smiled at the child, and everything was hunky-dory. And then he just faded out. And the mother's just standing going, she told me in a funny way, she goes, I was shocked, I didn't know what to do, but it quietened my daughter down and it had a positive effect, so I just let it go, just by that. I thought I must be going crazy. Until she had some friends over where they had a party and they were playing darts, or one of those hoop things, games with little hoops, and the young girl, 14-year-old, came inside and says, I saw someone in your house, inside. And she goes, who? I was playing, I saw a little boy. Oh, she goes, what was he dressed like? Oh, he had a big bow tie and this. And he just looked at me and just smiled. Well, the mother was thankful for that, because she's no longer crazy, someone else is crazy with her. You know? And anyway, so I would go around to people like that and talk to them, and I would never ever encourage anyone to remove the spirit, do anything. I just basically wanted to record it for my own personal information and education of the subject, and to put their minds at ease, and if there really were problems caused, I would try to find a way to help them in that way, recommending someone else go over or whatever. But anyway, so I did a lot of that, and that led me to believe that if you open yourself up to a lot of these experiences, going to people's home, that knowing that it's haunted, and yet you still go there, ask questions, believing not that these people are crazy, but that there's something going on, right? And I'll tell you that that part that says that they're crazy is also there. A lot of people could be mentally unstable and are looking for attention, and they'll call people over and make up stories, and they'll go on about, and then they'll start going on about other things. Next thing you're talking about Adolf Hitler, and sometimes it has a way of changing. But most times I think people are genuine in their stories and telling you about, and then when they feel comfortable with you, they'll tell you all these other things, and you might still end up talking about Adolf Hitler and things, but it's just you get a gut feeling, I think. And I think Cheryl will know too, we're doing this for so many years, investigating and researching. You tend to know where people are coming from, and I had the I'm me attitude, where if you're going to talk about a subject like this, but the people only want to talk about themselves and how they're the ones that are receiving it, how special they are, alarm bells will start ringing, you know. But anyway, and you'd never you say, okay, you make a note and move on. So you open yourself up to all this stuff, paranormal activity. Does it just bounce off you? Does some of it stick? Do you take some of it with you? You know what I mean? All these questions pop into your heads because things that were happening to me, I'm thinking, well, did I pick something up? A bad vibe or a stray spirit, or whatever way you wanted to make it out to be. How do I know? I don't know enough about it. You know? So things are coming back home. So myself, it was Regina. We also then took in the guy from New Zealand, took him in for a few weeks because he had nowhere to go. So, you know, what the hell? I said, well, you're going to live downstairs, all right. It wasn't a happy family because the boy, and I'll just tell you how he was what you might class as a skinhead with the tattoos, swears every second word, very tough, can't wait to bash someone up if they did something wrong, been in trouble with the police for violence. I would think the exact opposite of what I stand for in my own life, right? And so I was already uncomfortable with that. But as family, you do what family does, you know? And I'm only telling you this because I need you to understand the dynamics of what was going on. Thank you, Cheryl.
I knew you were going to say
You're usually on that side of me when I talk at the meetings, and I can look over. Cheryl's always there with the right answer, you know. Anyway, so the dynamics is like that. So, and he was very respectful. He'd come over sometime. On this particular night, there was a big storm coming, and we said to him, look, she said, look, can he just sleep on the floor because I don't want him to go home in the storm, you know? And I said, oh, okay, all right, no problems. And the discussions would take place between myself and Regina about her father being so old-fashioned that he would not approve of us all living like that without being married, etc., etc., etc. And she had experience once where a few days after her father died, her alarm clock went off at exactly the same time that he died, but it wasn't plugged in. All right, and that freaked her out. I had to throw away that alarm clock for her to get any more sleep because she wouldn't do it. So, and this thing about the father used to come up every once in a while. Anyway, so this boyfriend stayed over. That was one of the most uncomfortable nights ever. I heard footsteps. I heard scratching. The boyfriend came out I could hear him chatting in the hallway, and he went. I heard the door shut, the car start, off he went. So we went over, what's going on? Oh, she goes, oh, he was just freaked out. I said, why? He goes, well, were you guys scratching the door? I said, no. He goes, well, he thought you were playing tricks, as I tend to be known as being a bit of a joker and mucking around. I know, surprise somebody. But it wasn't me. And he says, yeah, I opened the door, there was nobody there. He opened the door like this, and he could still hear rubbing on that door, which is next to him. And he went for a walk in the kitchen, he heard the footsteps right behind him. He turned around and he goes, there's somebody here and I can't see them. He said, I'm getting out of this place. And he just left. He didn't come back for about 4 weeks. All right? We asked downstairs, said, how'd you sleep? He just looked at us, he had a cigarette. Are you effing kidding me? What do you mean? He goes, what the hell were you guys doing? Running up and down the internal stairs? Running up and down the stairs. I said, in the middle of the night, me running up and down the stairs. I said, are you crazy? He said, do I look like someone who's going to be running up and down stairs in the middle of the night? I said, no, I didn't do that. Your mum didn't do it. She's too sick, she's running up and down the stairs. He goes, what the hell were you doing? I said, I hope you don't get the wrong impression, but nothing, and he goes, and they're banging on the door. Why were you banging on my door? I said, I didn't do that. Ah, bullshit, Anyway, he thought we were just, joking around with him or something. So, okay, fair enough. Okay, we'll let it go.
Did you hear it?
I heard some scratching and that, but I start thinking that's the house. It's cooling weather, the house is shrinking, the house is doing this. My first thoughts always go along those lines, okay? Always. And then I'll take in all the rest of the information and make an assessment and not tell everybody because I don't want to freak anybody out, okay? But I was starting to get a little bit concerned. I was getting concerned at how things are getting stirred up. Let's put it that way. All right, so we'll let that incident go. Then on one night we're sitting at the dining room table, and two of us, not me, was Regina and her daughter, both looked straight away to the right. And they go, did you see that? Did you see that? I said, what did you see? He goes, if a man's walking past, he's got one of those cloaks, like in the old days, he had the top hat and the cloak, the thing. As you go around the corner, the last thing you see is that the coat just flicking around the corner. That's what they saw. I said, but that's in the veranda. So it's in the sunroom. This is where I've taken the photos. I'm standing on the front step to the house, and that's the dining room up there. And they saw him come around here, and this is a dead end. Okay. So I just throw my chair and run. I'm thinking someone's hiding there, as you normally would do. Either that or I'd run the other way or towards it. I chose to run towards it, and I look and there's nobody there. So then I look back at them and thinking, you pulling my leg. No, they were serious. I could tell when they were serious because they were really, upset. I said, oh, okay, fair enough. I said, oh, it could have been just a mouse. Oh, that was worse. I should have just said a ghost. Wow, a mouse! Ah! Okay. So no. I'm sure it was just some evil spirit. Okay? Leave it at that. They calm things down a little bit. Another time, I'm sitting at the table, and down here's the hallway. You can't see, but whoever was sitting there, which was her, she said, "Oh, the lights just went on in our bedroom." I said, "Yeah, I could just see the glow." And I go in there, and the light switch is on. It was off. And you know me about lights. I don't like having lights on in the house if they're not needed, right? In the rooms and that. It was off. I saw the light come on. There's only the two of us in the house. There was nobody there. And I said, that's weird. Can a switch do that? Of course it can't. All right? I'm thinking maybe it was set. Someone is just halfway, and it's not quite off. It's not quite on. Rubbish. Of course it can't do that, right? But I was trying to convince myself that you could. You could come on like that. So we're in a situation now. The house. I'm starting to pick up on things that I wouldn't normally dismiss, and the whole feeling in the house is starting to change. Okay, I think now is a good time to have a drink or something. If you have a look there, Kev, you see that chair. There's a dining room. So, well, no, I get it, it's a heavy chair. The son comes home we were out, he's on by himself. As he walks in the door, one of those chairs flips upside down. Like, he didn't see it. He heard bang, like as if I had stacked a chair and it fell. But there was no chair stacked. But that chair was upside down, and he heard it. And he goes, "Oh, they must have put it on." And he said, "Oh, bloody stupid chair, they nearly broke it. I mean, why would you stack the chair like that?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, the bloody chair fell." I said, "How?" "Well, you stacked it on the bloody table." Because he always wanted to tell us when we did something wrong. And I said, "Well, it wasn't. It was never on the table." "Oh, okay." 2 nights after that, we come home and all the chairs are on top of the table. These here are on top of the table, upside down, like the pillow, you know, as you would stack them when you're mopping under the table. And but like not neatly put up. They were just sort of. And I said, I said, "It's him downstairs. He's, you know, after that he's playing a joke on us." "No, we didn't worry about it for a few days." And it came up in conversation a few days later. He goes, "No, I stayed at my girlfriend's. I wasn't over." And Regina looked and said, "That's right. He wasn't. He wasn't here." So someone has stacked the chairs up, inconsiderate, because he could have mopped the floor while they were at it, but they didn't. But I'm just saying how the chair was upside down, as they should be on the thing, but roughly put. It wasn't how I would stack them or anything like that. Yeah, I know. You laugh because she knows I'm pretty pedantic.
Can you reason that?
No.
In terms of why they would do that?
Someone's trying to get my attention.
Right.
That's what I've put it down to. Why? I'll tell you.
They're heavy duties. One chair's good enough, but 6.
I know, just something. Oh, the other thing too, nearly forgot. Okay. I have a book collection of UFOs and paranormal. Was doing the radio show, I'd collect books. And I have a friendship with Jack Sim, who does the ghost tours of Brisbane. You probably know Jack. He's a good friend of mine. I used to go out and help him when he used to do the signings and things like that. So he's given me a few books and he's signed them. One of the books was Ghosts of Brisbane. It was a great reference book for me because talking locally on the radio, I can refer to local incidents. And my bookshelf, you would know where my book is. I can go with my eyes shut and pick that book out of the shelf because I know it's there. I also have a record collection, and I would know where every single record, out of 1,000 of them, I would know where I was a DJ once and I used to do a lot of stuff. So they have to be in the right position for me to be able to find something in 10 seconds, 20 seconds, okay? So books became the same, under the same rule, you know. Not that I'm overly that, but I'd like to know when I'm referring to something where I would look for it. So I go get this book and it's missing. It's the only gap, very obvious that something's missing. And that book of Ghosts of Brisbane went missing without any, no one would be reading it. No, it's just gone. Okay, so I've lost it. But the other thing that used to go missing, this used to drive me crazy. My knives in the house, you know, steak knives and normal butcher knives, over a period of spoons, spoons as well. Over a period of time, my dad used to work with Qantas and Ansett. He used to clean the planes when he stopped becoming a concreter. He went in and did that. And he used to bring home all those really cute Ansett or Qantas little spoons they used to have. We used to have real spoons back then. And so we used to have a stack of those. And I had it from when I was a child. So, but everything, I said, where's that spoon that's gone on? Next thing, there's only 10 knives here. What happened to the other 2? I don't know, it must be behind the thing. Anyway, it came down to one point, I had to go to Woolies one night to buy a packet of knives because out of something like 15, 20 knives over a period of, say, about a year, I had 2 left, right? It was driving me crazy. Because, you know, I don't know, who loses knives like that? You know, and we used to eat in an orderly way, like we weren't out in the lawn, out in the yard eating or having parties and that. It just didn't happen that way. So I was perplexed by that. The missing knives and spoons really got, I can't understand. I never correlated it to anything else. They were just going missing. Someone was losing them. The dishwasher. I thought one day, I'm going to open up the dishwasher and there's going to be a little secret compartment with not only all the knives and forks, but all my odd socks as well. They're going to go into some kind of Twilight Zone area. So anyway, it was a loss. Forget it. I just bought some new knives and let it be. So we'll keep remembering these little items though, because at the time, like I said, as I'm going through this in my story, this is what happened. I wasn't to know what was going to happen in the future. But then when I'm in the future and I look back, oh, that makes sense with that, which makes sense with that. Okay, so this was the last straw for me, the table and chair. I decided, right, if this is what they want to do, right, tomorrow I'm going to go talk to the old guy next door who's lived here all his life. And his name was Alex, or he's actually had a Russian name, like Rudolph or something like that. Actually, yeah, Rudy. That's what I keep thinking, Rudolph. But no, it's not Russian, but
German.
Yeah. Anyway, in my mind, you can tell the story. So I go to see Rudy. I said, mate, I'm going to ask you a question, but please don't think I'm crazy or anything. And I said, has anything really weird ever happened in this house that I'm living in? Anyone ever die or get killed or anything? He goes, no. Let me think. He said, built in the 40s, the old Hendersons were living there then. And he said, then came the O'Reilly family. I thought, this is good. This bloke knows everything. You know, nothing. Oh, okay, you sure? He goes, yeah, nothing's happened in that house I know about. Oh, all right, no worries, thanks anyway. Not unlike that place next door to you. Oh, right. Why? What happened there? Oh, he goes, you want to sit down for this one? Yes, sir. Right. Tell me about it. Okay. Well, he goes, 2 brothers used to live there. Both were gay. I said, okay. I'm hoping that that's got something to do with anything. He goes, and they used to hang out at the Hacienda, the Zula's bar, back in the 80s, right? And it was probably the only gay place a guy could go to back then. And he goes, and one of them got friendly with the waiter out there, brought him home. Then they had a big argument, had a fight, and the brother killed the other guy, cut his throat. It was in the papers and everything. I said, oh, really? He goes, yeah. And I tried not to get excited because of a story like that. You don't want to, it gives the wrong impression. But I was sort of, in a way, it's sad what happened, but in a way satisfied that I know something had happened. All right? I said, I've got something to cling on to. All right. And I said, oh, that's great. Thanks for letting me know. He goes, yeah, no worries. And I walk away. I said, and then unlock the place on the other side. I said, what happened over there? He goes, oh, that couple there, they were from Lebanon or something. I said, yeah. He goes, they were Muslim family, young couple, right? And he said that he was always talking about sending her back to Lebanon because she couldn't have children. And apparently, if a wife can't have a child, she's not, under this bloke's, how he saw it, was not worth having around because that's what they should do,
What's the point in it?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. That was the belief at the time for that, right? I said, but very strange. I said, what's very strange? He goes, well, he decided to renovate all underneath his house. He dug it out and he concreted everything and did this, did that, and yeah, but no one ever saw her again. I said, oh, really? Yeah, he goes, now, I'm not saying, I said, no, I understand, I'm not saying anything happened. They said, that's just the way it was. And that's the way we saw it, and that's the way we say it. Okay, then I said, have you spoken to police about this or anything like that? He goes, no, who'd believe us? Wouldn't believe us. All right. Anyway, I didn't take that too seriously, I thought because it's just speculation from someone's talking about somebody else. I thought, but that first story, that impressed me, And anyway, one night, something happened one night where we were asleep and someone came running up the hallway and banged on our door and then ran back. I jumped out as fast as I could and there was nobody in the house. And I said, that's it. I've had a gutful. What am I going to do? Who do you call? Now, how many of you know Glennis? Glennis McCall. Okay, you probably do. Now, I have an interesting relationship with Glennis. She, being on the Paranormal Panel, she always thought I was trying to bait her if I wanted to interview her for something. Because I've tried going to psychics and seeing who was taking advantage of people. I did all this, and she was worried I'd do the same. And a lot of times, if you know Glennis, she can get carried away over a story that she's telling you, and it would go on forever and ever and ever. Yeah. And I would say to her, "Oh, Glennis, look, that's okay. You've gone a little bit off the track." So anyway, I respected her as a lady, but as far as being any type of clairvoyant or psychic, what did she
It's clairvoyant medium.
Clairvoyant medium. I wasn't too sure. Okay. But
She's actually going to come today.
I know.
Thank God.
I was prepared for it. No. I was going to tell her exactly what I'm telling you. I said I wasn't too sure about you, Glenys. I said, but you know what? When it came to my own house, and think you're the only one I've let in. All right. And I wasn't even sure about cleansing of houses and de-spooking. Not like a friend of mine who got a priest to exercise his house and didn't pay them, so they repossessed it. This is true though, Glenys. I said to her, you know, like I don't know, I haven't been sure about what you do, but you know what? At this situation, you're the only one I trust, right? And she goes, oh, all right. It took 3 times to ring her to get her, and she kept saying to me over the phone, now, Tino, I have someone that comes through next to you called Giuseppe. He's passed away. Oh, I said, no, I don't know any Giuseppe that's passed away, Glenys. I said, no, you've ruined it. I really trusted you. Now, it's so typical. It's either going to be Maria, Giuseppe, or Mario, you know, like Luigi. Yeah. So I said, no, there's no Giuseppe that's passed away. He goes, oh, I'm sure I could see him there. I said, I'm sorry, you know. Anyway, next time I had to ring her again, I said, please, can you come over? You know, she goes, yeah, look, I'll try and I need someone to give me a hand. She had a friend of hers, a young guy that used to help her sometimes because she was a bit frail. She'd already had heart issues back then. And she goes, but you know, Tino, I know you said that, but I still see a Giuseppe, you know? I said, no, I'm sorry, Glenys. Anyway, she didn't want to hear me whinge about it again, but I just wanted her to come over. Anyway, so she decides to come over this day with her friend so he could help her move around because she was very frail. He drove. I didn't tell her anything about what I'd discovered about the neighbours. Nothing at all, zero. Didn't even mention that I'd looked into it. Okay? So she's walking around the house, and you know, she started telling her Hawaiian story. Those of you that know her will know that you can't get away from Glenys unless she tells you the Hawaiian story, the trip to Hawaii and all this. And she's babbling away, and I've heard it 1,001,000 times, but others didn't, so they were all overawed. And I'm just going, please, let's clear this house. I don't want to hear about Hawaii. I don't want to do. Anyway, and she's walking around the house, and when she got between my house and the house next door where the guy got killed, she just stopped and nearly collapsed, held onto her throat, and was screaming, like trying to scream. I thought she's having a heart attack or something. Anyway, and her friend grabbed her. So she walked her around, came back out around the other side of the house. Are you okay? Oh yeah. Oh, I'm okay. No, I'm okay. Oh, she goes, I don't know what happened. I felt, oh, there must have been something happened there. Something definitely happened there. Like someone must have hung themselves or something because I had all this pain around my throat. Oh, I said, actually, yeah, the guy that used to live there, he cut his throat. Someone's cut someone's throat. And that's the moment I said, I'm glad I got you here, Glenys. I really did, you know. Like everything just opened up for me, for her, you know. And I should never have doubted you in my own head, you know. Anyway, I said, listen, but I was still worried about it because I've never seen someone just come to a stop like that, you know. So anyway, we brought her upstairs, and we're in the hallway. You can't see it here, the hallway. And in the hallway there was myself, Regina, Glenys, her friend, the young guy that I can't forget his name, and he's there just smoking. You're not allowed to smoke in my house, but he was out on the veranda. The cigarettes are going, you know, really fast. He was just really freaking out. And because he can't believe, he's watching, but he can't believe any of this stuff's happening. He's probably wondering, where the hell did I would have been better in jail. This way, you know? Anyway, he when we were in the hallway, like normal hallways about that wide, you know, I mean, all these people here, and I can hear, I hope there's no one on this side there. I can hear, just when we're talking, just like that. There's the bathroom on that side, right? We all jumped, right? Glenys goes, in there, quickly. He brought her in there. She's in the bathroom and she's like this, and she's talking to somebody and saying, you need to go see that. She's talking in a language I couldn't understand. And she's just telling this person sometimes just to go back into the light. You need to move, your time is done here. And she's just going on, like she automatic button was pressed on her, and then all of a sudden everything stopped. all right? And then we came back out, we sat down, and I'm trying to make coffee, and and I was worried for her. I thought something was wrong. Anyway, she said to me, "Oh, that is really unusual." I said, "What happened?" Because she said, "I kept feeling like pains in my stomach, like stabbing pains, and it was a young lady." And she wanted to know that of an injustice that had occurred. And I said, "Oh, that's weird, right?" And then I told Glennis the story. She goes, "Yeah, well," she goes, "you're a silly man." She hit me in the head with something, a spoon or something like that. She goes, "The ghost book of Brisbane has gone missing. All the knives have gone missing. You know, she's trying to give you clues that something happened to her, and no one would hear. No one would understand what was going on."
Typical man.
And you're probably right too. I'm worried about cutting my steak. Anyway, and so, and then it all sort of, and we hadn't noticed, he'd gone. He left, he jumped about, he didn't even use the front door. The balcony at the back was only a few metres. When he was out there smoking, he goes, "F this," and he just went. It was like jumping out of a plane without a parachute. He just said, and he went up the road. I don't know where he went, he was away for hours. He would not come back. Alright? Because he was there when the banging started and he took off. I know it's funny now, but it wasn't at the time. So he took off, and then Glennis told me, he goes, "Look, it was something to do with a young lady who was stabbed, and she wanted people to know about it." Then I told her the story about that. She goes, "Oh," I said, "well, it makes sense. It makes sense, but," she goes, what can you do about it?" After that, we decided to go our separate ways with my wife, and we ended up selling the house very quickly. I sold it very quickly, and I moved on. And I haven't had any coincidences or issues like that ever since. And that's why, in sort of concluding with this, I'm wondering if the either the mental state or the environment that you live in, sharing it with different type of personalities and events, can cause these things. And I'm not sure exactly, but I know one thing for sure, that sometimes people surprise you. Sometimes you need to not be so cautious, although I continue to be cautious all the time in coming to conclusions. And sometimes you just have to listen to those people that tell you, "I just saw something, I heard something," and it's easy to say it's just the timbers of the floor, and generally most of the times it is those things. But you've got to keep an open mind and think maybe there's more to it. I always tell people that just to be very aware with the subject, especially young people that are going to try things like Ouija boards, things like that. I always talk about these when I give a talk. There was a friend of mine who I had on the radio, who 3 young girls lured them up to their room, to their apartment on the Gold Coast for beer and free beer and a bit of fun, and couldn't wait to get the Ouija board out. And the person that I knew, playing around with this, he thought, "Oh yeah, we've got 3 girls here, we're going to get lucky, I'm going to go along, whatever they say." You know? So he goes, "Okay, what's my grandfather's nickname from Italy back in the 50s? Some name that you wouldn't even guess it, okay?" It spelt it out exactly. To the point, at that point, his finger was fused to the glass, right? His finger stuck to the glass, and in trying to remove it, he heard it, he pulled the skin. It took months to heal. It was like burnt. It took months to heal. And then other things happened to the other 2 as well. The different things I won't go into. But it is a warning. And then on a bit of a funny note, I was painting a unit at Lutwich with a young apprentice who was just going to have a big night, beer and Ouija boards. And I thought, go for beer and pizza, it's safer. Maybe not on your waist, but general health it will be. And as I was saying, there was only one piece of furniture in this house, and one of those little cupboards that had the oval shaped mirrors, those old things with little keys that you open it up. We're shifting it, and bang, something falls on my head. It was on top of the cupboard. I have a look, and it's a Ouija board. While I'm lecturing him about not using Ouija boards, bang! It scared the shit out of me. He promised me he wouldn't do it ever again. So there you go. So I ask you what you make of that story, because to me it's still like a job in process. I'm learning things as I go. I change my views from when I was a child, or my perspective certainly changed. If people ask me now, is there a good and evil? I say, yep, there's both.
Yeah.
Can you conjure these things up? Definitely you can. But the warning is you don't know what it is that you're bringing in. Open the door, anything can come in. So be very, very careful. I'm lucky, I'm in a very good place at the moment. I miss doing this sort of thing, but it just, you have to be in the right frame of mind, because if you're not, it affects people around you, and the people around you affect you. And I think that's the ingredient that people forget when it comes to this subject. I think it's only a personal thing. I must be clairvoyant or something because these things are happening to me, or thing. I think it's more than that. I think it's a range of different situations and scenarios that conjure up something that could end like this. So I don't have a yes or no answer as to what happened, or there's probably more questions than there are answers, but those have been my experiences, and I wish that I had the brain that I've got now when I was a child, and that guy next door told my father about the young girls, because I would have asked many more questions about who else was at the home, how long was it before they were found, all those questions which I don't know the answer to, I'm afraid. But I would love to know all that stuff, but that's gone. It's all part of my life. It's gotten me to where I am today at Sharon Barry's place. But thank you for listening to that story. As I said, it's the first time I've told the whole story to a group of people, and thank you for putting up with it. I know it's a very personal thing, so it may or may not come across as being interesting to you guys, but at least someone's perspective, someone's viewpoint. All right, well, thank you very much for
Thank you, Tim.
listening.